So your firm has a lot of experience helping vape companies manage FDA compliance and even working with U.S. Customs. Please provide our viewers a quick overview of your experience in this area.
We work with manufacturers, importers, of course, retailers. We have vape industry, so whether e-liquid, e-cigarettes, and of course the other tobacco products, cigars, smokeless. What we've done with our clients is, you really want to think about FDA compliance in terms of two prongs. So you've got just the FDA compliance side. So for example, with manufacturers and importers, we register their establishments. We help them with their product listings, their ingredient listings, their tobacco health submission requirements, along with the ingredient listings. Of course, we're still waiting on the what's known as HPHCs, or harmful and potentially harmful constituents. FDA sort of backpedaled on that one, having come out with a list in their initial draft guidance for the Premarket Tobacco Application, PMTA. And then they subsequently, came out and said, all right, well, we're not quite sure. It's interesting talking about the court case in terms of sort of the FDA saying one thing and then turning around and doing something else, which, just simply makes it difficult for industry to follow the rules. In March of this year, they had announced, okay, we want to have this new compliance policy. They reminded the industry that under the Tobacco Control Act, none of the vapor products currently in the marketplace are lawfully allowed to be in the marketplace. It's simply that they had decided that they would go ahead and hold off. They put a stay, it's called, on enforcement. And so they then said, okay, well, anything that had been in the marketplace in the United States as of August 8, 2016 may remain in the marketplace, even though it had yet to obtain this marketing order, so long as everybody was working on their PMTAs. And in March, they came out with this new policy and they said, we're going to roll back a year. We're going to give the vapor industry, instead of until 2022, until August 8, 2021. So, of course, when the judge, in this case, the NGO versus FDA, they came out and said, all right, 10 months, well, okay, if FDA had made their own recommendations, and they did, I read through, the declarations submitted, how did we come up with the 10 months when just in March you announced to the industry we had until 2021?
Does all vape retailers have to do PMTA, or only the ones that actually are producing an e-juice?
Manufacturers are required to submit a PMTA. Retailers who also mix, those are also considered manufacturers. So now they're considered both a manufacturer and a retailer. So the whole set of retailer requirements now also apply to the retailers. Do you have a retailer training program? Do you have age identification, age verification protocols that you train your staff on following? Do you have adequate signage in your store? There's all these retailer requirements that then kick in, which the manufacturers, don't need to pay attention to because they're not facing the customers.
So the retailer requirements, are they in a PMTA, or is that a separate process?
So that's a separate requirement for retailers. The PMTA is only focused on those who are manufacturing. And FDA has explained that where you are a retail establishment, which also mixes e-liquids, they then consider you a manufacturer. So a manufacturer, because a lot of the shops, they take, the ingredients, PG, VG, nicotine, they're making it on site. And those companies are also considered a manufacturer in addition to being a retailer.
So that's the real big threat here then for the vast majority of the industry, is the fact that the retailers can make a pretty good buck actually by making an in-house juice. If they were just retailing devices and third-party e-liquid and not doing their own in-house line, then this whole PMTA issue wouldn't be an issue for them at all.
So if they were only selling other companies' products, it would not be an issue, except for the fact that, but for these applications getting completed in an acceptable manner where FDA will agree to even review it and consider it truly filed for review, they won't have any inventory.
With the final guidance issued in June, where exactly has FDA softened its language, opened the door a little more, might be making it easier?
So whereas in the 2016 guidance on the PMTA, they'd come out and said, probably if you don't have a clinical or non-clinical study, it's not going to be enough to get you through. They've softened that language a little bit to say, okay, if you do a short version of either of those, that might be good enough. But also if you do a literature or bridging study, that might be good enough to get you over the hurdle. And so whereas they were kind of like, that's probably not going to be enough, they've changed to, it might be enough. And FDA said, don't come up with something novel. There's standardized methods for conducting a literature review, for analyzing data. Use one of those, use a tried and true method. Great. I'm not trying to do this. I have researchers, I have PhDs who are doing this for my clients. Find the appropriate person to do it. And that was another thing that they said. The research has to be not only trustworthy sources of data, but it has to have been conducted by someone with the requisite credentials. So that's one area where I saw them loosen up.